This is my final ShowMe assignment, and today I'm going to teach you about drip sets. So whenever you see a problem, you always want to either highlight or circle the important information. So the weight is that the cat weighs 7 pounds. The dosage is 10 milliliters per kilogram per hour. And the drip set, which is 60 drops per milliliter. So the questions we need to answer is how many drops per hour, per minute, per second, per 10 seconds, and how many seconds are in between drops. So our first question is how many drops per hour. So once again, the important information is the weight, dosage, and drip set. I have already set it up for you by weight, conversion, dosage, and drip set. And if you multiply the top numbers, 7 times 1 times 10 times 60, you'll get 4,200. And if you multiply the bottom numbers, 2.2 times 1 times 1, you'll get 2.2. And to figure out the units, again, you cross out the ones that are the same. So pounds, kilograms, milliliters, and you're left with hours and drops. And that's what we want. So you have, and if you divide 42,000 and 2.2, you get 1,909 drops per hour. And that is what we want. Next we need to figure out the drops per minute. So we already know it's 1,909 drops per hour. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing when you add time. It took me a while to understand it, but just remember that if you always want to divide, you put the number on the bottom. And if you want to multiply, the number goes on top. So obviously you want to divide 60 because there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. And so you set it up as 1 minute over 60 hours, which is kind of confusing, but as long as you can remember the bottom divide, top multiply, it should be easier. So you multiply 7 times 1 times 10 times 60 times 1, you get again 4,200. And if you multiply the bottom numbers, you get 2.2 times 1 times 1 times 60, it's 132. Once again, you want to figure out the units, and you know that you're left with drops in minutes because we crossed out hours right here, hour and hour. Alright, and if you divide those two numbers, you get 31.8. And normally the teacher will tell you where to round, and in this case I just rounded to the nearest whole number, which is 32. And so it's 32 drops per minute. Next is how many drops per second. And again, you want to follow the same rule, so you set it up as 1 second over 60 minutes. And again, if you multiply the top numbers, you get 4,200, and then multiply the bottom numbers, you get 7,920. Once again, the units, you're left with drops in seconds, and that's what we want. And so you once you divide, you get 0.53, and I rounded it to nearest tenths, and that's 0.5 drops per second. Next is how many drops per 10 seconds. That one's pretty simple. You already know it's 0.5 per second, so you multiply times 10, and then you'll get 5 drops per 10 seconds. Next question is how many seconds are in between drops. There are multiple ways to answer this, and I found it easier if you find a way to figure out how long it takes for it to take one whole drop. So you do one whole drop over and how long it takes per second. So it's 0.5. And if you divide that, you get 2. So it's 2 seconds to fully form a drop. So that's how long it takes to in between drops is what I found it was easier. So we found out per hour, it's 1,909 drops per hour, 32 drops per minute, 0.5 drops per second, 5.3 drops per 10 seconds. That one, they'll tell you how to round it, but that's what I got. And then how many seconds are in between drops? 2 seconds.